So, Pete, why do you think the capacity for mood exists at all? We could go through our days never happy or never sad or never joyful, never, but we don't. Why does the capacity for mood exist?
Right. So this has been depicted brilliantly in some sci-fi films. You'll see kind of alien beings like Mr. Spock in Star Trek, for instance, where he looks just like a human, but he acts rationally all the time, and he can act without emotion, he can seemingly act without that influence. But the reality, I think, when we look at how brains work and the amount of computation required to work things out in a purely logical fashion, Spock's head, being human-sized, is far, far too small. He would have to be immensely strong just to carry his own head. He would have to have a massive great head that he was carrying around, and that would mean that he would have to have an awful lot of food all the time, so he would then be under risk of starvation.
So this is suggesting that mood is just a shortcut to get there, but does it do other things other than shortcut to good solutions?
Well, it's a shortcut to overall solutions, I would argue. And of course, with it being a shortcut, due to that being a trade-off, there are, of course, negative downsides. And, there's classic work from the 70s, Kahneman and Tversky are best known for, where people are driven by their decisions, by their underlying sense of things that is sometimes completely wrong. And you can sometimes set people up to actually make the wrong choice. So if you start by getting people to say lots of large numbers, and then you get them to estimate the value of something, they will tend to estimate a value that's higher than if you'd first got them to say lots of very small numbers.
But why not have everybody be happy all the time? Wouldn't we be better in terms of our reproduction as well as our happiness?
Well,
I shouldn't just say happy. High mood, whatever that. What is high mood
Sure.
and low mood, by the way?
Sure. Well, I'm happy with the term happy.
Okay.
It's an extraordinary thing that despite us on a sort of proximate level, on a day-to-day level, we strive for happiness, natural selection doesn't care at all whether we're happy or not. If you have two people that are acting in the same way, and throughout their entire lives they act in exactly the same way, then they will have the same fitness from the perspective of natural selection. So really, from an evolutionary perspective, there is no reason to expect individuals to be happy.
Except maybe if we want friends who are kind of happy instead of friends who aren't, that might give an advantage to people who are kind of biased towards happiness.
Right, and now we get into how that has emerged as something that we want. And of course, evolution, what it has done is it's set us up to seek out things that are beneficial to us. Mm-hmm. So when we find a nice slab of chocolate that's got lots of energy, we might feel happy eating it because our bodies that have been primed by evolution to tell us, this is really rewarding, keep doing this, this is excellent. And so then when you see other people that are happy, that's indicative that they're in a good environment. Perhaps they're surrounded by lots of chocolate.
To do what they're doing.
Well, hang out with them, be with them, because they're obviously in a good situation, and we want to be in a good situation. And also, sometimes with groups, it can be very beneficial to have other people that are well-fed or that are effectively happy in various ways. They've got shelter, they've got mates and so on. Because then you're in a community that can protect each other from predators or other dangers like starvation.
So what about the flip side of this, Pete? What about low mood and feeling sad? Doesn't seem like that's useful at all.
Yeah, many years ago I wondered, why do we get feelings like depression or if someone dies, why does it feel so awfully bad? Well, it makes sense, doesn't it, that if someone has died, then there's information there that is potentially really, really important, because dying is the ultimate cut-off of reproductive value. I mean, it stops you from reproducing ever in the future. And so if you see someone that has died, perhaps there's something to be learnt about how they died. Have they been crossing a river if they have, and they've suddenly been snapped up by a crocodile or something, that tells you don't ever go in that water there. The other's okay, but not there. That's really dangerous. Or similarly, falling off a cliff or eating a particular food and dying. If they've eaten that particular berry and then they've died, that's a really important thing to learn. And so the rumination process is arguably what that unhappiness is making us go through that rumination process.
That sounds like a lot of avoiding danger. Let's go on in a minute and talk about bereavement.
Right.